What is a turnkey rental property? So technically the term turnkey refers to the condition of a property. A property that is freshly rehabbed, it has tenants in and paying rent, and property management is set up to manage the property for you. So the term came from the metaphorical idea of all you have to do is stick the key in the door and turn it, and you're making cash flow on day one. So it technically refers to the condition of a property. Some people may have different definitions. Does it include tenants, property management? I don't know. But either way, the property's ready to go, rent ready, and should be cash flowing on day one. A lot of the times when you hear people talk about turnkey rental properties, and when I talk about them, I'm talking about turnkey rental properties that are sold from turnkey provider companies. So these companies actually go out where there's a lot of distressed inventory, they buy up this inventory, they rehab the properties, they put tenants in, they have property management set up to manage the property once you buy it, and you as the investor just buy the finished product from the company. So you could buy a turnkey property next door to you if it's in turnkey condition, but from an investment standpoint, most people buying turnkey properties are buying from turnkey providers. So what gives? How does this compare to normal investing? What are the advantages? Why would someone want to do this? Let's hit on that. Advantages and disadvantages and what in the world these things are. So here's an example. I live in California. You cannot buy a cash flowing rental property here, period. I mean, if you pay cash for it, maybe, but the cash flow returns here are terrible. So maybe the cash flow is really good in, I don't know, St. Louis or Chicago or Indianapolis. Well, cool, except I'm a couple thousand miles away. How am I as an investor going to manage a rental property in Indiana? It's not going to make a lot of sense. This is one advantage, but where turnkeys really come in, because somebody else is doing all of the heavy lifting for you. Skip out of turnkeys for a minute and go to real estate rental property investing in general. What have you always heard? Find motivated sellers, negotiate deals, buy a distressed property, rehab the property, put tenants in, either sell it for more money or keep it and keep the cash flow. That's a heck of a lot of work. It's great for some people who want to do it and maybe who are local to their properties, but me being in Los Angeles, number one, I don't like that kind of work. And number two, it's going to be hard for me to do that in somewhere like Indiana. So turnkey rental properties are a way to invest in rental properties that are cash flowing as hands-off as possible. A quick caveat about the term hands-off. In the early days of turnkeys, everyone was calling these things hands-off rental properties. I'm one of them. I have an ebook that calls them hands-off rental properties. But what I realized over the years is that word hands-off gives people a reason to think that they really can be 100% off and they never have to pay attention to anything and it'll keep performing perfectly. Well, guess what? I have a theory that if humans are in the equation, there's room for error, which is the case with turnkeys. They're not perfect. You still need to do due diligence on a property. You can't just take someone's word for what it is and buy it and never check on any of those things. So you do have some responsibility. So you're not completely hands off. However, as far as owning a rental property goes, you're pretty hands off. You're not landlording. You're not taking late night maintenance calls. You're not fixing toilets. You don't have to file eviction papers if necessary. You don't have to even create the tenant lease. You don't even have to find the tenants. All of those hard things are done for you. The rehab, the tenants, anything, finding the properties. So the heavy lifting is done. You need to keep an eye on things and do due diligence and verify. But because those tough things are done, you can kind of buy them from anywhere. So the closest property I own to me, or closest turnkey property I own, is 2,200 miles away from me in Atlanta. And I can tell you in the 8, 9, 10 years I've invested in turnkeys, I've never had to go deal with a property in person. I've been able to deal with everything over the phone, including firing property managers and hiring new ones, because that may happen where a property manager just kind of stops performing and I need a new one. I've done it all over the phone. So this is the huge advantage of turnkey rental properties. Number one, you can buy multiple properties in different areas and not have to build your own team. That's huge, to not have to build your own team. And number two, you can kind of chase the best returns too, because maybe 1 year Indianapolis has the best cash flow and the next year, I don't know, Philadelphia has the best cash flow. Cool, switch. If you're doing it all on your own, you have to build a whole new team in the new city. And then you have to watch out for that whole team because, again, like if you're rehabbing from 2,000 miles away, ooh. So turnkey rental properties are a really unique opportunity in real estate investing to own and invest in rental properties when maybe you wouldn't have otherwise. Maybe you didn't want to do all that work. Maybe you don't have the skills for that work, or in my case, the interest for that kind of work. Maybe you live too far away from properties that can cash flow. All sorts of reasons. This really opens up the door for way more people to invest in rental properties that may not have before. So it's really cool for new investors because even if you want to do the harder stuff later, it's a great way to learn the fundamentals, learn how to run numbers, learn how to do due diligence, learn how to select a market, learn the basics before you're forcing yourself to learn things like rehabbing, landlording, all that kind of stuff. So that's a heck of a lot of advantages to this model. What's the disadvantage? Well, easily the number one disadvantage is you're going to pay roughly market value for one of these turnkey properties. And if you've looked into real estate investing, the downside about that is normally if you do a value add deal, so you buy a distressed property, you rehab it, suddenly the value of that property, because you just forced depreciation through the rehab, is more than what you put into it. So that's immediately captured equity that is now profit to you. You're not really going to get this on the turnkeys because number one, you're paying market value already. So even if you could improve the property, you can't necessarily improve the value because it's a residential market value situation. And number two, there's not really a way to improve the property because you're buying an improved property. That is the number one argument people have against turnkey rental properties in my experience. A misconception about how much you pay for a turnkey. A lot of people are going to say that you pay a premium for a turnkey. Yes, you do, but a premium just means that it bumps it up to market value. It does not mean you're paying a premium over market value, or you shouldn't be. If a turnkey provider is trying to sell you something with that kind of premium, you need to work with a different provider because they should be getting sold around market value. So it is a disadvantage to pay market value, but you're in it for the cash flow. There are multiple profit centers on a rental property. They can still be very viable as an investment option. So if you're thinking, well, do I want a turnkey rental property or not? What's your personal situation? What's your skill level? What's your resource level? Where are you located? Because yeah, you might get higher cash flow or more equity if you do all the work yourself, but you're also taking on a lot of risk too. Like, do you know how to rehab a property? It sounds straightforward, but it's not that easy. And are you located near the property? You know, like for me personally, when I look at the trade-off of the work and the effort, in my case, the headache, all to save money, I'm just going to pay market value for the property and be done with it. I spend on my turnkey properties not even an hour a year dealing. Like I might have to coordinate with a property manager about a repair or give an approval or call them and ask a question. That's it. Like that's most of what I'm doing. I'm keeping an eye on things, but that's really just kind of getting my statements every month, occasionally staying in communication. In a hard year, if I have to fire a property manager and hire a new one, I don't know, like 10 hours a year, maybe. So it is pretty hands-off. So I hope that helps explain turnkey rental properties, a little bit about the advantages, the disadvantages, the model in general. One more quick advantage about the turnkey model is that most real estate investments you get into, you don't have the opportunity to verify everything about the property prior to buying it. Like if you're going to do a rehab or a flip, you aren't going to find out until later if that rehab is going to be way more expensive than you thought, or what the actual value is going to turn out to be, or how much can you rent it for when tenants come in. With the turnkey property, everything's done at the time you close. So you get to verify, what are the tenants paying? Is that in line with the market? Rehab cost wasn't on you anyways. So you get the appraisal to check the property value. So another huge advantage. But if you have any questions on turnkey rental properties, or if something I said just does not make sense, reach out. There's contact information in the notes, and happy to chat. And yeah, go buy yourself a turnkey rental property. I mean, they're fun.